G'day folks, good morning. Today, I believe it's still morning here in sunny Sydney. It's beautiful outside, the sun is shining. And today I'm building a device that will allow me to send remote codes to TVs that I'm testing. Part of the reason I'm doing this is because Logitech no longer make multi-remote devices. So today we are left to make our own. So what we have here is an ESP32. ESP32 is a little device that's very much like an Arduino. It runs C# or C++ code and runs on 5 volts USB. So we're using ground and 5 volts here. We also have a 3.3 volt supply. We're going to be setting the receiver up on 3.3 volts and on GPIO pin 4, I believe, and the blaster will be on 5 volts and will be on GPIO 4. GPIO is just your input-output pins on your ESP32. This is much like a Raspberry Pi, but smaller, cheaper, lower power. These cost about, I don't know, a couple of dollars to $10 each. This is in a development board format, so it's attached to a board that I can then break out and do things with. So yeah, I've gone ahead and attached a black ground lead and a red 5 volt lead. We also need to do a 3.3 volt, and I'm just debating whether I do red for that or whether I do something different. I feel like we might use purple and white for our data. We might use, maybe we'll just use red for the 3.3. What do you think? If you think I'm using the wrong colors, or if you think I'm missing something, if you've got any feedback, chuck it in the comments, and I will do my best to read them all and respond to them. We're just going to use our little thing here to hold onto the cable, and we're going to tin our cable just with a bit of leaded solder, and you want to heat the wire, not the solder. Alright, we always want to heat the thing up that we want the solder to go to. We don't melt the solder onto the thing. Okay, so 3.3 is just here, marked as 3V3. That's standard DC nomenclature. If you've got 3.2 volts DC, you'll write it down as 3V2. 3.3 volts DC is 3V3. AC is written as VAC, or possibly as an RMS value. Now when you're soldering, keep it as still as possible. You want that solder to set without any internal fractures. I'm just going to make these approximately the same length for now. Then we're going to get our data line. We're going to get white and some purple, and we just strip the tip. I strip then twist just to keep it in one cohesive piece. And again, strip and twist. Lovely. And we'll put that in there. These are silicon wires, so if I touch my soldering iron to them, they won't melt. They're a heat-proof coating. Just get some more solder and we'll tin these. This is called tinning, when we first add solder to a wire. Now I'm not using any flux here because there's flux inside the solder, and it's just messy to apply flux to single pieces of wire. I find that just dabbing the solder, the solder onto here is enough to get some flux onto the wire. All right, so we're going to do this to pin 4. This one here, I've pre-tinned pin 4, and we're just going to melt these two together. I moved on that one. Not totally happy with it. So I'm going to redo that. That's better. I'm a little bit shaky today. I don't know why. And then pin 14 is this little sucker here. And we're just going to solder onto that. I'm using my very small tip today, mainly because this iron has a lot of power, so I don't need to worry about getting a smaller tip, bigger tip, sorry, just to work with this. Oh my gosh. You gotta be careful not to let go of that solder too early. Alright. We're looking pretty good there. So make sure we're not touching that pin next to us, which we aren't. Alright, so we have our two data pins. Uno, dos. We have our ground, we have our 3V3, and we have our 5V. So that should be enough to wire these up. Now, the issue with this is we've just got to check, let's do the grounds. We've got a bit of a longer lead on here, just so we've got some space to be able to add these multiple grounds. Now I think I'm going to attach the grounds. I think I'm going to set up the device something like this. So we might bend these up. That way we can keep them all on the device. Then they can sit, we can have the learning on one end, and we can have the sending on the other end. The sending will be away from the USB port. So I think what we can do for the grounds is we can have a common ground here, and we can tie them together just like that. Yeah, I think that'll work. Just going to be able to see what's going on here. So let's tie these together. Let's actually do this. No, we're not going to fit them in there. Oh, we can do this, I guess. We go like this, and then like this. That will allow us to join those together there. Make sure we get both nice and hot. Very nice, I like. Now we're going to connect the this ground into here like this. This is probably not the best way to do this, but I'm going to make do now. Just going to undo that for a second so that I can get more happy with this earth. I just want to get that in there on that like that. Okay, they're tied together. I'm happy with that for the time being. We're going to have a signal here, and we've got our positive here and here. not ideal having the positive right next to each other. So we're just going to be careful to keep a good distance between the two. Make sure that come together. So we're going to send 5 volts to the transmitter. Oh, we haven't tinned that yet. We'll make sure we tin that. Again, we're waiting for the heat to go into the wire itself before we attach. And then we're going to just lie that in there, I think, so that it sits down nice and low. All right, so that's that one. Now for this one, I think we're just going to go straight up this way. That way we stay out of the way. I'm getting a bit lazy with my tip just because I'm only doing wire. I would definitely not run this for micro soldering. I would be cleaning this every time. I'm just allowing myself to be a little bit lazy this time. So yeah, don't copy what I'm doing there. Okay, so now we're going to run this one. Shaky fingers today, I don't know why. Okay, this looks good. Just going to line those two up like that. They'll come back in here and sit down like that. These cables will lay down flat in here. And then we'll put it in a little box. We'll probably 3D print a little box. Alright, now I'm just going to double check my design. Un momento, por favor. Transmission on pin 4, receive on 14. So pin 4 is the white one, so we're going to transmit on pin 4, which means this is going to go right there, and I think we're going to just run that up . Alright, let's just get this shortened. And just give the wire a twist. We'll tin it. This is a Goot TC22 that I'm using. Very nice little soldering iron. Right, now I've got to get this onto here. We're just going to get this held in here. Then we can do this nice and easily. Now we've got pin 14. Just make sure these aren't going to be too crazy, which they kind of are there, but that's okay because it'll go down there. It'll go down there. We'll run this to there, so we'll just cut that off. Trim this a little bit. Now I run a little program called ESP Home Builder, and what it is, it's an ESP programmer like the Arduino IDE, but it runs in Home Assistant, and it will allow me to use the Home Assistant app as buttons. Later I'm going to add a screen to this, so you can select the brand on the screen and fire the code. Would be the ideal solution. So that's our goal, that's what's hot. No, that's a bit rough, let's try that again. I'll get that in there. Just going to take that solder off. Ouch, 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 ouch. That's hot. Okay, this is our ready to test IR blaster. And I think we can now plug her in and see if it fires. Okay, you can see that the blaster is sending out lights. We're going to check our logs wirelessly. Can't connect to IR, error connecting to address type. Okay, so we're going to close that and we'll connect via USB. Okay, so what we have here is a buffer overrun. Let's see what our code is doing. We'll see what ChatGPT reckons about that. Okay, so let's update that code. Install via USB. Failed to prepare configuration because invalid option for remote check indent. Okay, I'm not going to worry about syntax and indent there. We'll let the computers do their own formatting. I'll sometimes use ChatGPT or something like that to write some code. It's just a quick way to go, and then, you know, obviously you can review it. And why is this flicking between red, green, blue? Seven color. Oh, that's a 7 color. All right, install. Now I'm not sure that this is the right LED to use. Yeah, well, that's the issue, right? This is an emitter receiver. What is this one? I wish I had these labeled, it would really help. This is uploading still, but we're going to have to replace this one. That's not the right unit. I think this one's going to be best to use, or we can use this emitter right here. All right. I may have an IR LED, 1 moment. Well, I actually have a programmable remote right here. I believe. All right, I think this will be the way to go.